Hello, and welcome back to the Mystic Sister Sessions. We are here recording our second episode. If you're joining us for the first time, we are Kristen, Beth, Cyndi, and Mandi. We are four souls, one mission to guide you home to yourself. Although our Mystic Sister family may be expanding soon. So it's been a minute since we recorded our first episode. I believe it was Capricorn season. And today we are recording on the first day of Taurus season. So we have like an earth sign trend going. Hopefully, it's not Virgo season by the next time we record our third episode. But yeah, we will see. So, this episode, we're talking about living in ritual. So, we're going to discuss personal changes that we've made consistently to our lives that have changed them for the better. Even little changes, really because they add a little whimsy to our lives. And I got this idea from a card that I kept pulling from my Inner Temple Oracle deck. And it was this card, this Ceremony of Life card. So I kept getting that. And it's about living your life in ritual. So not compartmentalizing, we'll call it the magical and the mundane, but kind of integrating them, embodying our beliefs and practices into our daily lives. So we will start with Mandi today. Can you tell us a little bit about your personal rituals?
So I have a hard time keeping routines. It really came to awareness for me on the whole, like when you start buying into some of those MLMs and they're like, oh, you got to drink a pink drink and a smoothie every day and take these supplements. It's just not in me. I have my rituals, but routines are hard. And I don't know how I would explain. I think that's kind of my ADHD, undiagnosed but self-diagnosed as an adult. That even recently speaking with a doctor about how like I have to have my morning medications, and then I'm like, I forget it. So like a 3 month supply lasts me 4 months. But I have my routines. I have my rituals. I know things that for myself, not everything is going to, I'm definitely far from OCD, but maybe I am and I just don't recognize it the right way that others do. But for me, the ritual through the day, I do have obligations which help keep me the routines, like going to work and doing those things. But I think for myself, it's trying to keep in the right mindset because as a high school science teacher, I'm trying to, from some of the shadow work and things like that with Beth, I've worked on when you have those certain students come in, you're like, oh gosh, but you have the right mindset in your rituals of this is what this student needs, and I'm this person for them today. So I think for myself, my rituals just is a come and go as needed. If that makes any sense. But I try to fit it fit the situation for what is necessary. My personal rituals for my self-care, do I want to take a shower every night? And sometimes I don't, do I want to brush my teeth at this moment, but I need to, it's those kinds of things that I try to keep on a regular self-care ritual. But I think as a yogi, I have a hard time just routines. And maybe I'm not keeping it, maybe I'm overthinking routines and rituals to be the same. But I know I'm trying I'm compartmentalizing wrong, not necessarily wrong, but differently than others. But that's what I see. Like, but I know my routine of socks on first, then my shoes. But um,
That's always good
I
advice.
yeah. But I do keep a regular seasonal rituals. Like It's time to start putting away the pants and get out the shorts. It's time to be cleaning up the yard, preparing for the summer. Um, I I think for myself, and I think for a lot of people, the whole ritual habits are not necessarily what we stick with. It's just recognizing to go with what is necessary at the time and living in that moment. But we know that moment has things to be done. And when it comes time for the next season of life or of the year or the weather, oh God, we'll get it figured out.
Awesome.
Very consistent with your yoga too. It's every Sunday that you teach your class.
Yes.
So
And I will
that's
say
consistent.
yeah, and I try to stay consistent with those kinds of schedules, but as I've learned, body doubling might be something that we recognize as a ritual. Like, I need to do something, I need somebody to be with me to do it. I love yoga, but a self-home private flow I don't do as often. I prefer to show up for a class and have somebody to do it with, rather than doing it by myself in my bedroom or in my living room or my home studio or wherever. And I think knowing I have to show up for the class, it helps. So.
Can I ask you a question just to
No,
kind
Oh
of
yeah.
follow up? Okay.
don't let her.
Well, so as a teacher, um, like when you're having a bad day, is there something that
Mm.
you consistently do in order to try and pull you out? So like, I mean, because you've got different classes throughout the day.
Yeah.
So if you have a bad first period, what do you do to kind of get yourself in the right mindset for the next period that, you know, hasn't made any transgressions thus far for the day?
Yeah.
I mean, because that would be a ritual, like something that
Oh,
you
yes. Exactly.
practice.
And so sometimes it really is just stepping out of the classroom environment or in that space and maybe just go visiting with another teacher if I can. I try not to be the sourpuss teacher to always be down in the dumps talking with my colleagues, but sometimes you got to just go tell a teacher friend, like, oh my gosh, that was a rough morning. Like, oh, 1 hour down, 6 more to go. That's all I have to think about. Like sometimes you just gotta, sound it out, and you usually get some thumbs ups or some cheers from somebody else that's feeling about the same. We've all been in that kind of situation. We just kind of step out, maybe use the bathroom, fill up the coffee. But yeah, step away from the actual classroom that experience was.
Filling up the coffee with,
Yeah.
yeah.
I fill up the I probably have 3 cups a morning. It's kind of rough some days. So my classroom got moved down by the workroom, and it's right there by the coffee cups or coffee maker now. So
Never out of coffee.
Yep.
yeah.
Very cool.
So yeah.
Cynthia.
Yeah, I'm also like you, Mandi. I do horrible with routines. I drive Kristen nuts because I don't use a calendar. She doesn't understand how I live my life without a
Blows my
calendar.
mind.
But
Maybe.
I blame it on my Pisces. I just kind of go with the flow. And we'll see how my mood is if I end up going out or staying in or anything along those lines. And I was getting into a good routine where I was doing yoga at my house. I was stretching on a regular basis, doing my moon rituals and that sort of thing. Which I mean usually includes me going outside if it's decent enough. Usually a shower or something along those lines. We'll see, maybe I'll shave and make it all, do a whole body routine type thing, wash my hair, and that sort of thing. And then I unfortunately broke my foot and kind of got out of it, started getting back into it, and then, we all know what happened last year, but I'm back into because I wasn't having the same sleep schedule or anything like that. I didn't have a regular day to day where I was in the office for a certain amount of time and out. I was helping bartend and that sort of thing. So it got thrown off again. And I'm slowly working my way back towards that as well. But I have still kept up on at least a new or full moon ritual at some point in time in the month. And it's probably not even on the actual day. It's 3 days before, 3 days after. I try to get, at least in that energy, at least, and do something. Kristen's boxes, I'm going to hype you up for a little bit because they've really been keeping me on track and gives me something to, instead of me just making it, I'm going, yeah, that's cool. I have a little postcard that kind of tells me, hey, do this, think something mindful here, or burn this sage while you're doing it because it matches the energy of the moon and that sort of thing. And it's amazing. So thank you, Kristen, for that. But also just other little things I'm starting to get back in now that it's nice. I go and do a little yoga routine on my deck, and my dog yells at everybody as they walk by, and it's kind of nice and relaxing. Or I'll take him for a walk. We like our little walks because we have trails around here in Des Moines. So I do the little trails so he can yell at all the other dogs as we walk by as well. Trying to think of other little things.
What about your tarot readings? You have kind of a ritual before you start those?
A little bit. I'll usually try to sage or something along those lines, ring a bell, just clear the energy in the space. Depends on where I am and all of that. Sometimes it's just a shuffle and like the three knocks just to kind of clear the energy and get it back into focus on whoever's asking me. If it's at the bar and I'm bartending and they just go, hey, can I get a quick reading because you're not busy or something. So just kind of depends on, like, I don't think they'd appreciate me saging the whole bar. Probably get a big complaint about that. No smoking. But otherwise, it just kind of depends on the time and the place. But yeah, I mean, I do notice the little things. Like I get home and Mosby's greeting me, so we have our little meet and greet now when I get home from work, and then we sit out on the deck if it's nice enough. It's been kind of cold lately, but today we did that. We got to sit out on the deck and enjoy the nice quiet while he was yelling at everybody to shut up. The birds were singing. Um, but yeah, it's just little things like that that try to be mindful and be in the moment and just enjoy our time here and calm down and relax and not worry about everything else that's going on.
Cool, cool.
No questions for
Beth is
me.
up.
I was gonna say, okay.
How much time do we have? No.
Hey,
Okay. So, I did just throw this together at the very end because you guys know how my brain works. It goes 150,000 different ways. So I tried to narrow it down. Um, Here you go. Okay, so the thing that I probably have incorporated into my life and use on a semi-regular basis is just checking in with what's going on astrology wise. Okay. Whether Mercury's in the microwave or we have 720,000 planets in Aries, and the moon cycles, full moon, new moon, things like that. Because I mean, before it was just like, man, I'm feeling off. Why is everybody so mad? Why is this
that
going on? Why is that going on?
that's why you
And
stopped messaging me and asking me what's going on. You finally looked it up yourself. I did forget I do
maybe,
that too, usually.
and you've been busy. You've been ignoring me.
Yeah,
So
that's true.
I got my own tarot cards too. So, haha. Anyway,
You still
but
ask me for those though.
I do. Well, because I feel like I'm biased when like I'm like, okay, this is what I want. So am I pulling cards based on that?
No,
Um, but yeah. Anyway, I want the reinforcement there still. Anyway, so but that is something that has made a huge because when there is this explanation, like it's, if everybody's on edge, especially with groups, like even our little group, like if Mercury's in the microwave retrograde, that means communication's going to be weird. So if things get a little funky, maybe Cyndi, says something that wasn't very nice, no,
Always.
I can take a step back from that and be like, okay, that's not how she meant it. It just came out wrong because
Always.
Mercury's in retrograde and things like. Let me re approach that with her, you know, that kind of thing. Absolutely, like with your students in school, Mandi, like, you know, I don't know a teacher out there that doesn't say they get crazy on a full moon. They absolutely do.
Sometimes the
And
new moons too. It depends on which one and where.
Mhm,
But yeah, it's like we just did this 2 weeks ago. What's going on? Yeah.
right. And so incorporating that has really made a big change because it helps me understand not only what's going on emotionally and whatnot inside myself, but maybe out in the, what do we call it, the collective as well. Um, it, the As far as what I think everybody puts like routine and ritual in the same thing, that's not necessarily like a routine is just something that you follow every day, like putting your socks on before your shoes. A ritual is something that you can kind of do as needed. Like I said, you know, you've had a crappy day at school. So, what is your ritual when you come home from a crappy day of school to try and reset yourself? Um, Taking the time to actually think. I know that's taking the time. I could have stopped the sentence there. Taking the time is something that's very hard for me to do. Pause and wait. So, taking a breath before I speak, sitting down and actually writing an outline and not just winging it and ending up in left field on a podcast. Um, these, are you looking for left field?
No, I'm
Oh,
pretending like I don't know what you're talking about.
no, that
I
She's
wasn't
didn't.
like, "Where's
directed
my
at you.
outline at?"
I didn't do that. I totally have an outline.
No, but I almost, I have to. You would stop talking, just be like, okay, that's all I got. I would just keep rambling. So having
Same,
those
Beth.
talking points is yeah, is good for me.
Have you?
Um, and then let me see. Let me scroll down here. So I have, and Kristen, shout out again. I know I've said this a million times, but those subscription boxes that you send that have everything you need. I said, we're all busy. You take the time that it would take to gather supplies, come up with the process and all. You take all of that out of all the work out of it for anyone that wants to jump in and try a new moon ritual or a full moon ritual or a ritual in general. Um, it's so simple. It's literally a card that's, you know, a step-by-step instructions on, hey, try this. And I made my first video kind of hyping that there the other day and lit the candle before I did the Palo Santo or whatever. And I noticed because I just did little video clips and then I smashed them all together. And in, because you're supposed to light the candle after you cleanse the space. But in my video, the candle's already lit when I'm doing the Palo Santo. So I sent it to Kristen. I was like, by the way, thoughts. You're not allowed to comment on that. But it's more about intention. And I think a lot of
I
people
was
are
gonna say it
intimidated.
wouldn't really matter. Yeah.
Exactly. They're intimidated by the fact that, you know, okay, I didn't follow the card exactly right, but my intentions were still there. I still accomplished the ritual. And maybe it works better for me to light the candle first. Who knows? Um, let's see. And they are just, I like to think of them as an anchor. There's something that brings you back to center or that keeps you from floating off adrift in the storm, right? We all have good days and bad days. Some of us are great at sticking to routine and absolutely fall apart without one. Sounds like at least 3 out of 4, we haven't heard from Kristen yet, but 3 out of 4 of us do not function on a very strict routine. Kristen's like, I could never be like Mother Hen over here. But um, it's still, we have good days and we have bad days, and we have to come back to whether we're off routine or just, I don't know, the world falls apart in our hands. You know, we've all been there. These rituals help recenter and bring you back to you and knowing that tomorrow is still going to be here, and you are going to be okay. And that's what's beautiful.
Absolutely.
Did I keep it in time?
Oh yeah, you did perfect.
We have a whole hour.
Listening. Yeah,
we
and
can keep
listening to all
going.
you talk. We have more time at the end too. We haven't gotten to our question yet.
That's true.
So, we'll see. We'll see how that goes. Yeah, going last made me to realize that maybe my Virgo placements are very Virgoing. When you were talking about astrology, I'm like, I do have that Virgo, Venus, and Mars, and I really do like structure and routine. So yeah, thanks for bringing it back to astrology.
I got you.
I'm like, okay, well, I do need a good routine to keep me sane. But yeah,
Nothing wrong with that.
but also with like the ritual and everything. Several years ago, I was listening to Maya Bialik. I think it was on the Metaphysical Milkshake podcast. And she is Jewish. And she was talking about how in Judaism, they have these like built in rituals throughout the day, like even waking up, going to the bathroom. There's like a Hebrew saying for like, thank you for letting everything open and close, like really being yourself. And just different little sayings throughout the day, like blessing your water and things like that. And I'm like, oh, I really like that. And I've always liked like in India, they have holidays for everything. Like there's all kinds of religious holidays. And the way it really like brings the communities together. And I know growing up in the United States, we learned about especially like the influx of migrants, immigrants in the like 1800s being a melting pot. Like everyone was expected to come in and assimilate. And in doing that, we lost a lot of our, like cultural rituals and things like that. Even worse if you were a slave and had to completely assimilate into the European way of doing things. Now we say it's more like a salad where we keep all of our ingredients, but we mix them together. It's kind of up in the air in this cultural climate. But I always liked the idea of having these like cultural rituals and things like that. And I think that we've lost a lot of that in the United States. And I think that's something that as the Mystic Sisters, we do kind of want to bring back as a collective, like getting together, building community, like having our, whatever it is, like fire rituals or whatever that we're doing together. I would really like to do mother's blessings for any new mothers out there. Reach out to me. I would love to do a mother's blessing and like celebrate rites of passage, like becoming a mother, or like for young women, like, entering puberty. Like we've lost that. It's like, oh, let's not talk about that. It makes people uncomfortable. But it used to be like celebrated. Oh, wow, you got your first bleed. Wow. Like that was celebrated. So I guess I just want to bring a little bit of that a little more of that back into our lives. And so I do have my personal routines too, which now I'm realizing I'm a little, yeah, like I said, Virgo-y about. But I feel like I have to start my morning in a certain way. I'm very big on like nervous system regulation. Like, we gotta regulate my nervous system. And I have young children. So I need a lot of regulation and a lot of grounding. So I feel like I need to wake up before them, which I'm not a morning person. So don't like waking up. I don't necessarily like doing the things, but I feel like I need to do the things to keep myself grounded and keep myself together. So I try to get before my children, and it depends on the weather. If it's nice outside, I go outside so I can get some like barefoot grounding, sunshine straight to the eyeballs. Um, if there's sun, usually in the middle of summer, the sun is up before me. But I start with some lymphatic drainage exercises, gonna get my body moving, and then I'll do some yoga and stretching. I do my Reiki, then I have a little daily Reiki ritual that I do every single day. If I'm outside, then I do that outside, or I do it in this room, away from my children before they find me. I do a short meditation And sometimes I'll add a little prayer to that. My favorite prayer, actually, in the morning is I say, and I try to do this every single day, I release the burdens of my heart and I hand them over to the universe for full freedom of my soul. And you can say God, universe, deity, whatever resonates with you. But that helps me just like get everything out of my body, off my chest. So, like I said, I try to do that every single morning. And then I try to incorporate little rituals with my children too. We have what they always rename whatever it is. But lately we have something called Daily Word. So I do order Daily Word from Unity Church, and it's just like little booklet. Every day there's a word. So we light a candle. And lately it's been the ritual candles that come in my ritual boxes because the children like those. So we'll light the ritual candle. My husband and I'll take turns saying a prayer. When it's my turn, we also do like a little fire meditation. My husband, not so much. And then we'll take turns reading the daily word, except for my son because he's 4 and he can't read. So he just is very upset that he doesn't know how to read yet. But next year, next year he'll learn how to read. He can say the daily word too. So do that every day with them. They like to like have a countdown when we go over the railroads. Like anytime we see a railroad crossing, they like to have a little countdown. I feel like that's a little ritual of theirs. Before I go to bed every night, I like to seal my aura. So those are my basics that I like to do. I also like to try to do as many grounding exercises as I can during the day, get sunlight, move my body. But I would say my morning ritual is probably the most sacred to me because I need to start my day out right and like a good energy, or I feel like the whole day gets away from me. So, and then before the podcast, I sage this room, sage myself. So I have my little things I do to also relieve anxiety, as Beth mentioned, like when you're anxious, sage, Palo Santo, those sorts of things. A little bit of meditation, quick meditation.
And I do those things too. I didn't mean to leave that out. I think that's awesome. Just like I said, just a moment when things like you just need to clear the space. I've had a crappy week, time to sage the house. Perfect. That's all. You put the rest of us to shame on your rituals, Kristen. I'm just saying.
I mean, I had my outline, so I just went off of that.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Well, I think we have some questions now. Mandi, do you want to ask us a question?
So for me, I think when this idea of our podcast and the concepts we were talking about was coming up, I've been thinking about this for a while because, like I said, I'm not very ritual or routine on daily basis, and I do have cultural traditions that, my family traditions and stuff that I kind of maintain. But what happens when you have a situation in mind, and maybe I'm the only one that does this, but I'm pretty sure I don't. We've played and scripted in our head what we expect and want to happen and to do. And then when the time comes for that situation to happen, for that ritual to play out, it doesn't happen quite as expected. So I will say, like, for yoga, it has taught me to just kind of go with the flow. This is where, okay, I didn't make it to school at a certain time. I'm 5 minutes late. It doesn't ruin the rest of my day. I don't get to pick up the right groceries, and now to make the meal that I had planned is not going to happen. So that's not going to ruin my evening. So how is it that each of us kind of reconcile the situation in order for us to move forward, live in the moment, and not, I mean, some days it's really hard to not just be a sourpuss and just be mad because it's not going my way. But I feel like with a world of the anxiety issues that we tend to come across within people of our groups that we might encounter, how can we be the person that others can maybe look and say, oh, she doesn't go crazy when something doesn't go right, you know? I think that's where maybe I'm stereotyping here. Some of the younger generations have created some situations of what to expect or thought they should expect to happen for themselves, and it's not going quite right. Well, we can't live like that. And so if the ritual of getting up and being in this routine and doing what we're supposed to do or what we think we're supposed to have happen, what can we do in order to be comfortable to live and be not the sourpuss in the group or the anxiety riddled person? And like there's days that I will be like, oh God, this is bad. And as a teacher, I've had a few days where, and we're at the time of meme teacher season. So there's been a few days where I'm like, read the room. I'm done with this. I've warned you. You're going to the office. Like I've tried. I've tried with you kids, but then, I've got to do a reset for myself before the next class because it's not the previous hours shouldn't be leading into my next class period. Each student is their own person. And that's how I encounter the rest of the world as well. Like, how can we continue to move forward and live in the moment, but still have rituals, even if those rituals don't go as expected? So, for the group, Cyndi, how do you experience this?
Sure. I honestly feel like that's my entire life is very rarely does anything go as smoothly. Well, first of all, you have to plan something for it to go actually smoothly, but even when somebody else has planned, the hotel doesn't have the rooms ready or, the flights get delayed or moved or something along those lines. Even in
Yeah.
my daily life, I try to drive home and I end up in Kansas. So I just kind of laugh it off. I mean,
Yeah.
I accidentally locked myself in the back seat of my own car because I had the child locks on at a gas station with my dogs. Because I had to rebuckle Pepper at one point in time, and I just sat back there and laughed, and then had to climb my fat ass through between the front two seats and not honk the horn and just try to like roll in there and not look too obvious. Like, honestly, it's just like I kind of wish I was a fly on the wall sometimes of all the stuff I have done and gone through. My sister-in-law's favorite story is toothbrushes. If you guys want, I'll get into that one of these days. But somebody's day was very enlightened by me dumping 2,000 toothbrushes in the middle of Walmart on accident. Uh, but
To hear the story sometime.
yeah, yeah, I can definitely tell it at some point in time. I know we're kind of crunched on time at this point, but I don't know. I just kind of laugh it off and go with the flow. I do get grumpy every once in a while. They messed up my meal again, and it's the third time in a row that I've been here and they've done something. And I have a lot of food sensitivities and that sort of thing. So it's like, dang it, I was really looking forward to this and now I don't get to eat it, or now it's just not going to be as good, or something along those lines. Like I'm going to have heartburn later, yay! But I mean, it's just like, well, that's just how it always goes. So here we go, and I try to make the best of it, laugh it off, joke about it later. Like me getting locked in the back seat, I got home and my neighbor had come over and she's like, "How was the drive?" And I was like, you know, typical me. I locked myself in the back seat of my car in in the gas station, and she was like, "How did you even?" Like, don't. It was me. Obviously, that's how I did it. Just goofy things like that. It's like you could get mad at it, or you could just be like, "Well, yeah, that's go figure," and laugh it off and figure it out. I did panic for a minute because I was like, "Oh, now I'm stuck back here." Like there's like a partition between the front and the back. Like I can't crawl through. But anywho, I figured
It
it
wasn't a
out.
police car, Cyndi.
Exactly. Which, by the way, if they leave their windows unlocked, you can get out. Um,
Good to
I
know.
wasn't actually arrested. Just
Right.
FYI. That's when I did my ride-alongs and they put me in the back seat to like talk to whoever they were talking to. Yeah. But anywho, yeah, I just go with the flow. So I don't know. Gotta see if you can't laugh about it, what are you gonna do? So it's just life. Can't take it too seriously. All right, Beth, you're up.
I can definitely attest to the fact that you're like a walking disaster, but I love you. And if it makes you feel any better, even though I'm not quite as afflicted with the walking disaster bug, I have had to crawl out of my own trunk in Aldi parking lot because I couldn't turn around. Like those getting to different places, like when you were a kid, you just like flop, 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 and no big deal moving from one space to another in a vehicle. Not so much fun in your 30s and 40s. But yeah, the battery died, and the battery is in the trunk of an all electric car without a key. So I had to get in the trunk and pull like the emergency hatch to get the trunk to pop. And then it's like, okay, now how do I get out of
Right
here?
now.
So crawling out of my, yeah. So I hear you. I feel your pain there. I guess there wasn't a horn to honk, but
Right.
I mean, that's got to look a little suspicious to the other people coming to get groceries.
Nah.
Oh,
That's
anywho.
impressive that you thought to do that, though. I probably would have just had a panic attack.
Yeah, I would have just
Like,
been like,
freaked
what do
out.
I do now?
Yeah,
Yep.
I'm locked in my
Uh,
car.
well, and so I guess that leads us into the thing. Like, I don't know. Uh, I don't always laugh it off until after the fact, but there is a whole like, that's the spice of life. Um, it, Cindy and I share parents, poor parents of ours, but
Mhm.
if we hadn't announced that yet, our mom is very Virgo,
Death
so
by
anything
water.
goes out of whack, like it was just kind of a catastrophe. Unless we were at home. If we were at home, then kind of no holes barred, like it was a free for all. But if we went somewhere or there was an activity planned, it was planned, and she still does that. Like we take her little retreats and everything, and she wants to know what all the
She
meals
hates
are
when I
going to
drive by
be,
myself.
and what time are we going to do this? Do we have enough crafts planned? And I'm like, we're going to talk the whole time. What do you mean? you know,
You're gonna talk the whole time, but yeah. I actually talked a lot the last
touche.
time I went because I was doing tarot a lot, but yeah.
True. I took over for you this time. You're welcome. Kind of. But touche. But there is just that, like, none of us have that level of control. And so it used to be a freak out session. Like, oh my gosh, this has gone wrong. This has gone wrong. This has gone. The world hates me.
And it still
Kind
drives
of
her nuts,
it,
but she's
it
getting better.
I don't live
total
with her anymore.
meltdown.
It's not as
Well,
often.
and I used to have freak out sessions, like, because I don't, well, that's what I saw for one. You know, everything was supposed to be just so, and everything had to go according to plan. Well, that's not how life works. And so just taking the moment to breathe. And one of the best pieces of advice, and I apologize if I repeat myself, but one of the best pieces of advice I have ever been given is when you get to that point, look at yourself and just remind yourself that you have survived every catastrophe and disaster that's been thrown your way for your entire life. You will survive this one. It may not look like what you expected on the other side of it, but I've never been disappointed in the outcome either. So that's the motto I live by when crud. Are we allowed to cuss on here?
I don't know.
I
I
don't see why
already
not.
have.
When
Yeah.
the poo hits the fan, we'll
Just
say.
say shit.
Hey, when the shit hits a fan.
Boom. I don't think it's
Yeah, and
TikTok. I don't think we have regulations.
Okay, that's fair.
when you were saying that, it reminds me of like the tiger analogy too. Like, I'm not being chased by a tiger. I'm okay. Like our nervous systems we used to go into fight or flight, can't talk, fight, flight, or freeze because there was a real threat in our environment. They're not wired for all the threats coming at us now. So it's a different kind of thing. We're not being chased by a tiger, but we have so many other stressors constantly in our lives. So taking that breath, like, okay, I'm not being chased like a tiger by a tiger.
Yep. Yep. You will survive. I think you're up, Kristen. Was that your answer? Oh.
No, sorry, I have more. The other air sign of the group actually had two answers as Mandi was talking through her question. I was like, I have kind of like two different points. So one would be like with my morning routine that I desperately need. I don't always wake up before my children, or especially my youngest one, my little Gemini. I can hear him as soon as he wakes up. If he's not already in my bed, I'll be like, "Mom, Mom, where are you?" So I don't see him. But he will find me, and then he's like, "What are we doing now? We doing our Reiki? We doing our meditating?" And I'm like, "Yeah, let's do it." And so either one, I
He's your
have
little
to.
Labrador puppy. How Cyndi describes me.
Where are we going? What are we doing? I'm just ready
Yeah.
for anything.
Yeah.
So I have to change it a little bit. It's not going to be a quiet meditation. It's going to be a very active meditation. Or I might not be able to. Maybe I have to change course and I just don't get to do my morning routine. That happens a lot on the weekend because honestly, I don't feel like waking up as early on the weekend. So a lot of times I just straight into the chaos of parenthood. So then I try to like take times later, like, okay, this didn't happen. It's not going to look like this today, but maybe they'll chill out and they'll be quiet. This sounds terrible. For a little while later, and then I can go outside. I can take my coffee outside and chill. Usually they find me there too. But finding those moments of peace throughout the day where I can ground and kind of regulate my nervous system. So that was one, just trying to find spots throughout the day where I can make up if I don't get my morning routine. And then another thing that kind of came up is when life in general like doesn't go as planned or you think that it should be this way but it's not, it's this way instead. So I do suffer from like depressive episodes, and it used to be when I was depressed, I'm like, this isn't okay, I shouldn't be depressed, what do I need to do? And so now sometimes I'll wake up and I'll feel a little depressed and I'll tell myself like, you are depressed today and that's okay. And I'll let myself just be depressed, knowing that tomorrow is another day. I'll probably feel better tomorrow. I will take some actions today that I think will help my body regulate, go outside, move my body, go on a walk, get some sunlight. But it's okay to just be in the state of depression today. And tomorrow will be a different day, and tomorrow will be better.
You actually just advised me that here last week. I had a rough week last week, and you were like, let yourself be. The emotions are waves. Yep. You gotta work yourself through them, but take steps to make sure that tomorrow is better than today. Yeah. Thank you for that.
Yeah. Myself the same thing.
Yep. All right. My question. I'm wondering what your guys' experience has been about maybe if you were going through like a bad day or, a ritual got messed up or something didn't go quite right. And it could be somebody, or a stranger like that kind of like kicked you back into like, wait, it's not so bad. Life can move on. So a situation like that where it was like somebody and mostly unknowingly kind of got you back on track. I don't know who goes first.
Well, we all have to think about it since you didn't give us a heads up.
Oh yeah. I actually have my answer. I can go first what you guys think.
Okay.
I was gonna say I can go too since I.
So I will say my kids are good at doing that for me because everything for them is just so simple. And I think I've shared this before, but one of my favorite things my daughter ever said to me, she was 2, I think she's getting ready to turn 3. And she had this little tea kit right? And she had it set up in her room, and she loved to just put water in it and pour it, and we'd have little tea parties. And I was like really stressed out one day, and she was, oh my goodness, now I'm forgetting the exact words she said, but she was like, "It's okay, Mom, just have some tea," like essentially. And I'm like, yeah, you know what? It is okay. Like, just sit down, be present, have a little tea party. Oh, that's my answer.
That's adorable and very real.
Yeah. Kids are good at that and they don't even know it. Sometimes they're good in the other direction too. But
Yeah, well,
they
That's
still make
They'll
you
send
laugh
you over the
though.
edge
Yeah. Well,
yeah,
and then calm you down.
yeah. Well, they'll
yeah.
send you to the edge and then bring you right
Yeah.
back, and you're like,
That's right.
okay.
That's right.
Yeah.
So I'm
Mine.
gonna.
Oh, go
Okay.
ahead.
Well,
No.
I was gonna lead with that because I think this is why decided to stay with teaching. Because they can give you some really hard days, but then so I've been with quite a few different age groups, and when you're with littles, the elementary students, there'll be that one random student that'll come up and will be like, just give you that random hug and says, "You're great." And I'm like, I needed that because it was rough today, and they can sense it and they just know it. High schoolers are a little different. Middle schoolers are brutal all around, and I just really don't work with them as much. But high schoolers, there's that few students that they're like, "You got it, queen. I got your back," and you're like, "Thank you. This is why I do it." And they'll, they can sense when you're having a rough situation. And then I really enjoy that I can come home and I can ask one of my kids or my husband and be like, "I just need you to give me a hug. I just need a hug for the moment." And they don't really even have to ask why. They're just like, "Okay." And they'll give me a hug and we'll hold for a minute and then it's better. And I don't know, those are some rough times that I know if I need one, I can ask for one. And I'm sure if I came across a friend or somebody I felt comfortable to ask for a hug, even I bet you I have some teacher friends that would give hugs. I just don't get into personal spaces in some of those situations. But I just know that by the time I get home, if I can ask for a hug, it's gonna, that whole vagal nerve pressure and everything is gonna feel good, and I'm gonna. It's not nothing's bad, and like you said, just have some tea. It's all gonna be okay. So, yeah, it gets rough in the moment, but then you can, if you have an open mind, you can easily see that that rough moment can pass.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, you gonna make me go?
I
Are
can
you up?
go. Or I
Go
don't
for it.
care. All right. Mine was you kind of reminded me of it because it was our first walk without Pepper.
Mm.
So I walked through the yard and rounded the corner, and we were walking down the road to get to the trail and everything. And Mosby's just always excited. He's yelling at the neighbors, letting them know we're going on a walk, we're going on an adventure, yay! And his tail's going a million miles a minute. And you know how he does the whole circle with his tail and everything. And a lady driving by yelled out the window, "Greatest tail in the world!" And I mean, I was almost in tears if I hadn't already let out a couple tears. Just like, oh, it's the first one, and it's gonna, like obviously he's excited and doesn't get it as much. He didn't care as yeah. They were siblings more than bonded, um, but that just cracked me up and got me to laughing instead of crying. So it ended up being a beautiful walk. So
It's funny how the universe knows how to send those things
yeah,
occasionally, doesn't it? Yeah.
exactly.
Yep. Yeah, I knew you were gonna stump me on this because
Sorry.
I'm having trouble coming up with
Yeah,
a
sorry.
specific example. I mean, I can come up with examples, but there's not one steady thing. Like I've had things like you mentioned. I'm in a bad mood and something random happens from a complete stranger and it flips the switch. Um, I've definitely had that with my kid. After one of our arguments or whatever, she's practically an adult. And so there's a little bit of independence fight there, at whatever point in time, I'm trying to explain why I'm doing mom stuff. And she's like, and why I did stuff in the past. She's like, look, I know it's your first life too. Yeah, well, that makes sense. Thank you for understanding that. I haven't ever raised you before. My bad. It didn't come with an instruction manual. And just like Mandy is like, I definitely have people that I can go and ask for a hug. But like, I guess the the one that stands out to me is that, I went through the checkout at the grocery line, and the lady in the grocery line, I don't know whether I was quiet. Like I don't remember what was going wrong that day. I know. But I
What?
was like, I'm just in here. I'm gonna get my stuff. I'm gonna go home. Ho home, go
Hello.
home, and just chalk this one up to just a crappy day, right? And coming up through the checkout line, the lady in the checkout line like tells me her entire life story. I have no idea why. Um, but she did, and it like moved, it took the focus from, it's not me and then the world. It's, there's more to all of this than just me. And that little reset seems to help. Sometimes I go outside and I stare at the stars and I'm like, yeah, I'm a very tiny but not insignificant piece of this puzzle. I have people that I'm important to and people that are important to me, but I'm one in billions. So I don't know. That's the best I can do for that answer.
It's
So
not a
reframe.
bad answer.
We're all
Yeah.
in this together.
Yeah.
Right. Right. All right.
By the way, I didn't want to interrupt, but for some reason, Monster decided to get up on his little plaything today
Oh, so now you don't
all
have
by
to take
himself.
down.
Oh no, I'm taking it down and bringing it to you because this is the one and only time, and he only got up one and has just been glaring at me. So I don't think
Not getting
he
enough attention.
really wants to use it, and I think he's just using it for attack.
He's a mess. He's a mess. Mine's locked outside. Otherwise, I'm sure he would have made his presence known as well. So
Oh, so and the children.
not a bad plan. I bet I get a snap of that later.
Yep, you all will.
All right, Kristen. Anything else for today? What are you thinking?
Yeah, unless anyone has anything else, I think that is our closing.
Okay.
So this concludes our second episode. You can find our socials linked wherever you're listening from. So our podcast is on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcast. And thank you so much for tuning in. Until next time, stay curious, stay connected, and keep coming home to yourself.
Thanks, guys.